long before Nigeria became a nation, long before colonial powers drew borders across Africa, the vast grasslands of the Hausa kingdoms echoed with the thunder of galloping horses. Merchants traveled hundreds of miles carrying gold, salt, leather, and cloth across thriving trade routes. Powerful city-states competed for wealth, influence, and security in a rapidly changing world. Among them stood the Kingdom of Zazzau. It was known for its skilled traders, determined people, and growing ambition. But no one could have imagined that this kingdom would one day be transformed by a young princess whose courage would become the stuff of legend. She would ride into battle at the head of her army, expand her kingdom farther than ever before, and earn a reputation that would outlive centuries. Her name was Amina. Today, she is remembered as one of the greatest military leaders in African history. But before she became a queen, before she became a legend, she was simply a curious young girl growing up inside the royal palace of Zazzau. This is her story. Around the year 1533, in the flourishing kingdom of Zazzau, located in what is now northern Nigeria, a daughter was born into the royal family. She was named Amina. Her mother, Queen Bakwa Turunku, was an influential ruler, remembered for strengthening Zazzau and helping shape its future. Growing up in the royal court meant Amina witnessed government, diplomacy, and the responsibilities of leadership from an early age. Outside the palace walls, Zazzau was alive with activity. Markets welcomed traders from distant lands. Blacksmiths forged tools and weapons. Farmers cultivated the fertile countryside, while caravans connected the kingdom to wider trade networks across West Africa. For most royal children, life followed a familiar path of education and preparation for courtly responsibilities. But Amina was different. She was fascinated not only by the business of governing, but by the soldiers who protected the kingdom. She watched cavalry drills with quiet determination. She listened when experienced commanders discussed strategy. Even as a child, she seemed drawn toward a future few could have predicted. The story of Queen Amina had begun, not on a battlefield, but in a kingdom preparing a princess for a destiny greater than anyone yet realized. As Amina grew older, it became clear that she was unlike many of the other young royals in Zazzau. The royal court was a place of diplomacy, tradition, and preparation for leadership. Princes and princesses were expected to understand government, commerce, and the customs that held the kingdom together. Amina embraced those responsibilities, but her curiosity reached beyond the palace walls. She was drawn to the training grounds, where soldiers practiced with spears, swords, and shields. She watched cavalry riders guide their horses with remarkable precision and listened carefully as experienced commanders discussed strategy and defense. In the Hausa kingdoms, cavalry played a vital role in warfare, and mastering horseback riding demanded exceptional discipline and skill. Amina devoted herself to learning those skills, earning respect through determination and perseverance. Although the details of her training have not all survived in written records, history remembers her as a woman who developed extraordinary military ability long before she became queen. Those years of preparation shaped more than a future ruler. They shaped a leader who would one day command armies, defend her kingdom, and leave a legacy that would endure for centuries. As the years passed, Amina's reputation continued to grow. When her younger brother, Karama, became the ruler of Zazzau after the death of their mother, Queen Bakwa Turunku, Amina remained one of the kingdom's most trusted members of the royal family. Rather than stepping away from public life, she took on an even greater role in the affairs of the kingdom. Historical traditions describe Amina as an accomplished military commander during Karama's reign. She accompanied military expeditions, worked alongside experienced generals, and gained first-hand knowledge of how armies were organized, supplied, and led across long campaigns. Each journey strengthened her confidence. Each campaign sharpened her understanding of strategy. She learned that victory depended not only on courage, but also on careful planning, discipline, and the loyalty of the soldiers who followed their leaders into battle. Long before she wore the royal crown, Amina had already earned something just as valuable: the respect of the army. By the time King Karama's reign was drawing to a close, the people of Zazzau no longer saw Amina as simply a princess. They saw a leader, one whose greatest chapter was still waiting to be written. The death of King Karama marked the end of one chapter in Zazzau's history and the beginning of another. Around 1576, Amina ascended to the throne, becoming the ruler of Zazzau. She inherited a kingdom with strong foundations, but one surrounded by ambitious neighbors and constant competition for trade, land, and influence. Many rulers in the region measured their strength by the size of their armies and the security of their borders. Amina understood that simply maintaining the kingdom would not be enough. She believed Zazzau could become far more powerful. Almost immediately, she began preparing for military campaigns unlike any the kingdom had seen before. Her army was strengthened, its cavalry expanded, its commanders organized, its warriors trained with renewed purpose. Queen Amina did not intend to wait behind palace walls while others shaped the future. She would lead her soldiers herself, and before long, the sound of galloping horses would carry her name across the savannas of West Africa. The warrior queen had arrived. Once Queen Amina secured her throne, she turned her attention beyond the borders of Zazzau. For years, she led military campaigns across the surrounding regions, expanding her kingdom farther than any ruler before her. Unlike many monarchs who directed battles from the safety of their palaces, historical tradition remembers Queen Amina riding with her cavalry and sharing the hardships of military life alongside her soldiers. Each victory strengthened Zazzau's influence. Kingdoms that resisted her armies were brought under Zazzau's control, while others chose alliance over conflict. But Queen Amina's campaigns were about more than conquest. By securing important trade routes, she helped merchants travel more safely across the region. Caravans carrying gold, salt, leather, cloth, and cola nuts moved through territories protected by Zazzau, bringing new wealth and prosperity to the kingdom. Tradition also credits her with establishing fortified camps and inspiring defensive earthworks around important settlements. Many of these fortifications became known as Amina's walls. While historians continue to debate how many surviving walls can be directly linked to her reign, they remain one of the enduring symbols of her legacy. With every campaign, Queen Amina wasn't simply expanding a kingdom, she was building an empire whose influence would be remembered for centuries. By the height of her reign, Queen Amina's name was known far beyond the borders of Zazzau. To her people, she was more than a ruler. She was a protector, a military commander, and a symbol of the kingdom's growing strength. Although few written records describe her personality in detail, the traditions passed down through generations consistently portray her as a disciplined and determined leader who demanded excellence from herself and those around her. Her court welcomed merchants from across West Africa, and the prosperity of Zazzau continued to grow as trade flourished. Long after her lifetime, stories about her leadership became woven into the history of the Hausa people. Among the most enduring are the defensive earthworks remembered as Amina's walls. While historians continue to debate which surviving walls date directly to her reign, these fortifications have become a lasting symbol of the security and expansion associated with her rule. As the years passed, Queen Amina's influence reached beyond the territories she governed. She had become more than the Queen of Zazzau. She had become a legend in her own lifetime. The longer Queen Amina ruled, the more her reputation grew. Her victories became stories, and those stories became legends. For more than 4 centuries, the Hausa people have passed down accounts of her extraordinary life through oral tradition, preserving her memory long after her reign came to an end. Among the most well-known traditions is that Queen Amina never married, choosing instead to devote herself completely to leading her kingdom and commanding her armies. Other stories describe remarkable adventures and acts of bravery that have become part of her enduring legacy. While these accounts remain an important part of Hausa cultural heritage, historians continue to distinguish between oral tradition and the written historical record. Some details can be supported by historical evidence, while others cannot be verified with certainty. Yet whether remembered through documented history or cherished tradition, one truth remains unchanged. Queen Amina inspired generations. She became a symbol of courage, determination, and fearless leadership. The woman who once trained on the fields of Zazzau had become one of the greatest legends in African history. Every great reign, no matter how remarkable, must eventually come to an end. After decades of expanding Zazzau, strengthening its economy, and earning the respect of kingdoms across West Africa, Queen Amina entered the final years of her life. The historical record tells us little about those last days. Like many rulers of the 16th century, the details of her passing were not preserved with certainty. Most historians believe Queen Amina died around 1610, leaving behind a kingdom far stronger and more influential than the one she had inherited. But a ruler's true measure is not found only in the battles they win. It is found in what remains after they are gone. The trade routes she secured continued to connect communities. The influence of Zazzau endured, and her name lived on in the memories of the Hausa people, carried from one generation to the next through stories, songs, and tradition. Though Queen Amina's voice was eventually silenced by time, her legacy never was. The warrior queen had completed her journey, but her story was far from over. More than 400 years have passed since Queen Amina ruled the kingdom of Zazzau. Empires have risen, empires have fallen, borders have changed, but her story has endured. Today, Queen Amina is remembered as one of the greatest military leaders in African history and one of Nigeria's most celebrated historical figures. Her name appears in history books, classrooms, literature, works of art, and cultural traditions that continue to honor her remarkable life. She represents courage in the face of uncertainty, leadership during times of great change, and the determination to pursue a vision even when others doubted what was possible. For countless young Africans, especially young women, Queen Amina stands as a reminder that leadership is not defined by expectations or limitations, but by character, wisdom, and the courage to act. Her victories shaped the history of Zazzau. Her leadership strengthened her kingdom, but perhaps her greatest achievement is something far more lasting. She inspired generations who would never meet her, yet would never forget her. That is why, centuries later, the name Queen Amina still lives on. Queen Amina was not remembered because she sought fame. She was remembered because she changed history. She inherited a kingdom and transformed it into one of the most influential powers in West Africa. She led with courage when others expected hesitation. She rode into battle when few women were given the opportunity to command armies. And she proved that true leadership is earned through vision, discipline, and the willingness to serve something greater than yourself. Although more than 4 centuries have passed since Queen Amina walked the earth, her story continues to inspire people across Nigeria, across Africa, and around the world. She reminds us that greatness is not measured by the circumstances of your birth, but by the legacy you leave behind. Some rulers are remembered for the crowns they wore, others for the kingdoms they built. But Queen Amina is remembered for something even greater. She inspired generations to believe that courage has no limits, and that one determined leader can change the course of history. That is why the name Queen Amina of Zazzau continues to live on, not just in the pages of history, but in the hearts of those who continue to tell her remarkable story. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the life of Queen Amina, the warrior queen who built an empire, and a very special thank you to TXA Studios for bringing this remarkable story to life.